Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Powerful on Purpose, where we talk to freaking cool women who are using their story to build businesses. They're on big missions to change the world and just powerful all the way around. I am Leslie Capps, your host, the founder of Author in 30, and I'm super excited today. We've already been talking behind the scenes. My guest today is Erika Muralidhar. Did I get it close?
Close.
Close. We were talking about it before, so I got it in my head. But let me tell you a little bit about Erika because we're going to jump in and have a great conversation. Erika is a nurse, a health coach, and an NLP practitioner with over a decade of experience in healthcare. And her work focuses on the powerful connection between the mind, body, and the nervous system. Erika helps women who appear to have everything together on the outside, but inward they feel exhausted, anxious, or disconnected. Many of the women she works with are navigating challenges like stubborn weight changes, hormonal imbalances, fatigue, burnout, and perfectionism. And like, who of us hasn't experienced at least one, if not multiple of those? Through a blend of evidence-based health education, nervous system support, and belief level work using NLP, Erika helps women reconnect with their bodies and create sustainable health rooted in self-trust rather than control. So welcome, Erika. Super excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Leslie. I'm thrilled to be here. I know we've chatted so much, and I love chatting with you, so I'm glad to be on your podcast today.
Likewise. I was so looking forward to this conversation. So, and you can correct us on the pronunciation of your last name because we did talk about this.
Yes, it's Erika Muralidhar. I was joking that I can't even say my last name correctly, so I hold no one accountable for it.
That's right. No judgment.
No
But
judgment.
tell us, what's the story that led you to connect? Because you're doing different modalities,
Yeah.
bringing them together, and your own experience, as well as then how you looked out and said, wait a minute, I think I could help women solve some of these problems. I had a woman on the other day who said, talking about menopause, it's just crap. No, it's crap. And it made me laugh, right? But women have so many hormonal things go on that affect us and recognizing those. So I probably gave you like 3 questions in one. But
All right, I'll try my best to make sure we hit them all. But a little bit back about why I actually do the work that I do. So I started out in traditional healthcare. I started out in nursing. And I like to say my health journey actually started even sort of further behind or further like before I even started my traditional career. What really led me to do the work that I do now is I noticed when I looked back, there was like a few different points in my life when I used control and this idea of trying to create a perfect facade of what was going on in order to sort of dim all the stuff that was running around in my head, to dim all the anxiety, to try and, wrap my head around to make sense of like what's happening and just kind of push myself forward, right? I think as women, we tend to sometimes just like, it's like the pick yourself up from the bootstraps mentality of just like push it down and move forward. And so for me, my answer whenever I got to that point was control. It happened in my early ages. When I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced. I hit me really hard and my entire world felt like it shattered. And so as a young 12-year-old, I actually tried to control my environment. But as 12 years old, I can't control much, right? And so I ended up having a little bit of an eating disorder at that time. And it took me a long time to get out of that standpoint because from the societal perspective, it was like, oh my goodness, you look amazing. You're doing so good. You're getting good grades. And so as a kid, I kept hearing this over and over again, like, okay, I guess this is how I find love. And, as human beings, love is one of the most important things to us. Community is the most important things to us. So we develop these belief systems based upon what people are telling us and based upon what our peers and society are sort of infiltrating into our brain. And our brain is saying, okay, this is a positive pattern. And we are fearing that if we don't do this, then we might not be loved and we might not be, accepted. And so as 12 years old, that was sort of my way to handle something that was unhandleable. And then I slowly started to learn about my body, and, I got some help during that phase. And then it ended up in college where I had a similar but different experience. I was going to school for nursing. I was a very highly motivated individual. You can't go into nursing school, I don't think, without being super motivated. So I just kept giving, and I kept trying to strive for better grades and strive for friendships and all these things. And I was an emotional wreck. I was having like panic attacks in the bathroom, and no one knew, right? It was my little secret, and I was trying to hold it all together. And I mention all this because at the end of my career, what really led me to start to do this phase of my work was because, again, as I said, I was a nursing degree. I had a nursing background. I did 10 years of nursing. So I knew a lot about health. I knew a lot about how the body worked. And on top of that, I fell in love with a functional medicine because I thought that root cause medicine, the way that our body works from the root of it, was the true way that medicine should be practiced. But so I was sitting there thinking, you know what? I've come this far. I've done some work on my mind. I've done some work about my perfectionism. I've done some work on my control. And now I know all of there is to know about the health, right? And I was sitting on a Zoom call with a functional medicine doctor, and she looked at me and she said, we have to put you on thyroid medication because your thyroid numbers are out of whack. And it sounds so just like so simple, but in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I had all of these years of experience. My mother had thyroid issues, so I always knew that that was part of my possible like journey, and I never wanted it. So I did all of these little things to, ate the right food, moved the right way, had a good relationship, had a great career. I did all these things to sort of create this perfect bucket of me, or this perfect facade of me. But the inside, my body was like rallying against this. It's like, something's wrong. Like, you're not prioritizing us. So I'm going to give you a thyroid condition. And so I was sitting on that Zoom call being like, I can't believe I'm here. I cannot believe that I ended up here because I thought that I could outrun this. And so in that moment, I asked my doctor, I said, listen, give me 6 months. If in 6 months I can't fix this, I will go on thyroid meds. And so, during that next 6 months, I learned more about my priorities. I learned more about my boundaries. I learned how to push back from work. I learned how to create better win-win solutions. And I learned how to listen better to my body, even more so than I ever had before. And so I took that time. And in 6 months, I ended up going back to my doctor, rewriting my labs, and I was fine. And what it showed me was that most of us, most women that I work with, are doing everything and giving so much to everyone else and forgetting that they are part of that equation, and telling themselves they know that they should be, but they're not doing the actual work to be there. And so that is what actually led me to do the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, very interesting. And so many phases that you went through, if you will, at 12 years old in college, right? That so many of us can identify with on different levels, this idea of what we should look like, what we're supposed to do, and what is right for us.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest lesson in it all is that I think what we end up doing is in NLP, there's an idea that, you create belief systems between the ages of 3 and 5, right? So at 3 and 5, your biggest influencers are your family, your friends, and your peers, right? And so you're creating these little belief systems that, like, this will give me love and this is going to show me self-worth. And it's not intentional, but we then wrap them around in our brain and create stories around it. So we're creating the meaning for ourselves. So it could be something as simple as, like, mom told me not to draw on the floor because, that's normal. But, as a kid, you would take that as like, oh, if I don't follow the rules, they're not going to love me anymore, which is not the right meaning that mom meant, but you're internalizing it because your brain is constantly filtering so much information. And it filters out 95% of it, and then it fills in the rest with your own story. And that's what creates a belief system. And so over time, you have these beliefs and then they keep getting like added to and compounded by what society is thinking. And so I think the biggest thing is that women tend to lose what is actually true because they're so wrapped around the stories that they've created for years.
Right. Right. And I think women particularly have not only stories, family, peers, and friends, but society, right? That
Yeah.
idea of don't speak until you're spoken to. Some of those things that are very women centric that we
Yeah.
carry on.
Correct. I think that that part to me is interesting because most of the women that I work with, and I work with all sorts of women, but most of the women that I work with, it boils down to two things. It boils down to don't feel like I'm enough. I don't feel worthy of something, or I feel like I don't deserve what I have, right? And some of my favorite women that I've worked with have mentioned that as part of like, we've unlocked that. And then it's amazing as a health coach that like that is usually underneath why things like tiredness is happening, things like fatigue is happening, things like diseases are happening. You don't feel like yourself, you feel disconnected, you're getting overwhelmed. It's because there's some inner belief system. And I'm speaking very generally, it's like usually one of those three. And once you unlock that, everything else falls into place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. And we know that, right? I think there's enough evidence now
Yes.
that how our brain and body are connected, go figure. But it took forever, right, to make those medical and scientific discoveries.
Yeah, it took so long. And I think that's why, as a traditional nurse, that's why I sort of started falling down this path between traditional nursing to functional medicine and to now health coaching because I was getting super frustrated. I went into nursing to help people. I went into nursing to educate people, to make them understand the power of their body, understand the power of their mind. One of my favorite books that I've ever read, and it was not even assigned in nursing school, but I got mentioned. And so I like did a deep dive on it was You Are the Placebo Effect. Amazing book, incredible. And it talks about how people are self-healing themselves. And you talk to any traditional medicine person, they're like, oh no, that's not true. That's not true. But like the reason why we do everything based upon a placebo and sometimes the placebo works, it's because our mind though is so powerful over a lot of what our body can do. The body will follow what the mind believes and like not like logically believes it, but believes it in the core. And I think that that's also a big misconception is that it's not like you have to think about it and you logically think about it. It's that your core has to believe it. And so going into nursing and going into like traditional cells, like outpatient and inpatient. And I kept seeing the same people over and over again with the same problems. And the solution was always, here's a Band-Aid, here's another pill, go home. I'm like, that isn't solving anything. That's not solving what the root of anything is. It's not taking account to any of the stuff that could be going on. And so that's sort of what pushed me into functional medicine, which then pushed me into health coaching because I wanted the time with clients. What I really wanted was time to actually understand who they are, what they do, what motivates them, what their desires are, and what is going on at home and the relationships that they have that they want to keep. And like all of that is actually going to influence their health goals. And so I had also dive into things like Reiki and aromatherapy because I think all of that is so powerful on top of NLP, which is your brains and your belief system. It's called neurolinguistic programming. It's so powerful. And nursing, because I think you need everything. Like, I think you need it all. I say you need the woo and you need the hardcore science to like actually make differences in your body.
Great. I love that. Yeah. You need the, yeah, little out there and a little in here.
Yeah, the woo is so powerful. And I'm so glad that people now are talking more and more about it, and society is sort of pushing further into that research and taking not necessarily like measurable facts, right? Not like a blood pressure measurable fact, but like this is my experience before and after, because that is also data. I think for a long time we didn't really, associate any weight to that kind of data. And I'm very happy that we are now.
Great. Exactly. I think you're absolutely correct. And I like the observation because I think the other thing is medical practitioners have treated women like men. We could probably go off on so many examples, and I have my own stories around that. But um, in recognizing, one, we're differently built in so many ways. But then I love this idea too of how you're bringing together, okay, what's going on in your life, business, and all those things, because they're creating this whole outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say you can't separate health in a sense of, what you're physically eating, what you're physically doing, and how you're physically sleeping. Like to me, that's surface level health, right? That's like the tips and tricks of the world. That's new hacks. Let's do all these things, which is fine. And they all work and you need that. I say like 70% of health is that, right? Like understanding the science behind all of that. But the 30% that's actually going to move your needle and that's actually going to create sustainability is your mindset, your motivations, and your belief systems. And the issue is that the surface level health, as you said, is for a long time has been about men, white men. And so now we are starting, and you mentioned menopause before, and that is where the science is going. And it's so incredibly cool to see how people are shifting and how people's minds are expanding and how, we're learning more about it and we're taking more note and being more cautious about it. And like all the measurements that we see, making sure that they're calibrated for a woman is also really important. Like I tell people all the time, as simple as weight loss, like with a scale, right? People always use a scale to measure weight. And I say, like, that's actually not that helpful. It doesn't tell you like what your actual like muscle to fat is. It doesn't tell you what your water weight is. As a woman, sometimes through our cycle, we hold different water at different times. It's not really telling us a full picture. So like you just going based on that, which is really helpful for men's health sometimes, or can be, it's not that helpful for women because we've got hormones that fluctuate by month. It's such an incomplete picture.
Right. What do you see is the biggest area in the clients that you work with of misdiagnosis, in the sense of they're told one thing and maybe it's something else, or maybe it's something that can be addressed by looking at what's going on in their life?
Yeah. Most women who come to me, there's like two camps of it, right? There's some women that come to me because they want something specific, like I said, weight loss. They're tired, fatigued, anxiety. Those are all not necessarily diagnosed issues, but they're self-diagnosed and then they come to me, right? That's one camp. And then we work on that. Then there's the other camp of women who've gone to the doctor, who've taken labs, have done all these things, and they're told, you seem fine. Everything's great. Everything's absolutely okay. And they're still like, I feel disconnected. I feel like something's wrong. And I'm so confused of why like no one's taking me seriously. Or they're women who get dumped a diagnosis like PCOS and they're like, I don't understand what this even means. And why are they now telling me I'm a diabetic? And now why am I going to 7 different specialists for one new diagnosis? Those are the women that I tend to see because the medicine is still catching up, right? The medicine is still catching up to the science of women. And those women typically are women that have tried a lot of different things, who feel like they have a healthy lifestyle. And that's why I say that the surface level health is like probably really good and they've done a lot of work there. But what they're missing really is cortisol regulation and nervous system regulation. Because the world now, the way that we work, we are constantly consuming and we're constantly hustling. And if you're sitting, most people are like, what are you doing? You're being lazy, right? I don't know how many times that people have been like, you want to take a nap in the middle of the day? That's being lazy. Like there's so much stigma for sitting down and resting. And so we're constantly taught that like you need to keep moving forward. Like if you've ever asked someone like what they do or who they are, they usually start with their job.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's like, to me, 1/8 of the person that you are, right? So because of that, our society keeps saying that's how you should define yourself. It's based upon the work and the productivity that you do. The thing that I like to teach women the most is that, and for those women that are misdiagnosed, is that it's actually cortisol and it's this under small level of stress that you're putting on yourself that is impacting every other aspect of your health. It could be impacting your relationships. That's why you're snapping at people. It could be hurting your blood sugar. That's why like 3 p.m. you're crashing, or at 3 a.m. you're waking up in the middle of the night. It could also be that you're putting on weight because when your body feels stressed out, it's going to naturally hold on to weight and it's going to fluctuate all your hormones. So if you're having these raging mood swings, it's going to make you more tired because you're not actually sleeping well. It's going to fatigue your brain. Like it's going to impact all these other aspects of your body. And so most of the time we start there because regulating your cortisol or re-regulating your cortisol to our natural rhythm, like cortisol is supposed to rise in the morning, fall at night. And if it's not doing that for you regularly, you're self-sabotaging your own health goals, like not on purpose, just because it's happening underneath and you have no idea.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Super interesting and valid point, right? And something that kind of gives us, oh, is this happening to me? Maybe that's something to be looked at. I honestly don't know, but I would imagine you could go to a traditional medicine and they would give you something for cortisol to help
Yes and
regulate
no.
that.
I would say most traditional healthcare still does not test for cortisol or they don't test for it accurately. And so I always tell people I don't really even do lab testing myself. I'm a nurse. I can't do it. I don't run it. But if you have labs, sometimes I will ask clients about some of those things to give me more data. But I always do it based upon symptoms. You can tell when something is happening based upon symptoms because your body is constantly talking at you, right? It's not constantly talking to you. And so what you need to do is just to like learn how to like tune in and learn what your body is saying. And then that will give you more direction. Like one of the biggest things that I tell clients in the beginning of working together is also like movement. Movement is a big pillar of health, right? And the question for you, Leslie, have you ever done a workout or something where at the end of it, you felt more tired than going into it?
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Usually I tell people that's because it's too hard of a workout, which is very counterintuitive. Because usually like, oh, I want to feel sore. But like if you're feeling drained, like I want to go to sleep, your body was overworked. And it could just be that you weren't relaxed going into it, right? Like your cortisol already was too high and then you spiked it even further through a workout. And now it's having this like big crash down. Um, and so I always tell people just pay more attention, right? Pay more attention to what's going on with you. And that will tend to tell you if things are working for you or working against you.
Cool. Wow. Well, you have dropped so many gold nuggets here. But of course, I have like two more things, right? So I wanted you to talk to us a little bit about the hidden stress assessment, because I think
Yes.
there could be listeners that would be very appropriate for. And two, where can people connect with you if they want to find out what you're doing? Where are you hanging out online?
Yeah. So the hidden stress test is a very quick survey to tell you how you actually show up when you're under stress. So as I said, most people don't understand that a lot of the physical symptoms that we're feeling is related to stress. And so there's a bunch of different ways that stress shows up in our body, and there's a bunch of different archetypes of those stress responses. And so what this does is it helps you to identify what you do most of the time, and it will give you a list of symptoms that you may or may not be experiencing and give you the insight of like, oh, me yelling about the sink dishes in the sink is because I like to control things more. I'm a controller when I get stressed out. I told you before, like that's my archetype. So and I have listed there two different ways to help release some of that, release your stress for your specific type of person when you are under distress. Most people that take it are like, that sounds exactly like me. How did you know? I'm like, it's pretty common, but it's just a fun way to learn a little bit more about your body, and it's totally free. They should be in the show notes afterwards. And then where to find me? I hang out a lot on LinkedIn. I hang a lot on Instagram. My business is Health E Wellness, health with the letter E, like Erika Wellness. And my website is healthybyerika.com. If you're local to Brooklyn, I am in Bed-Stuy, New York, and I hang out at farmers markets there, so you can see me there in person. And then I've also developed a community called F the Hustle Collective, and it's all about this idea of like, how do we let go of this go, go, go and reprioritize us. It's an async community. It's free for the first month. It's a fantastic place to learn about different ways to tune into your body, to learn from other women and find a level of support. And on top of it, we do a once a month group coaching call, which is absolutely incredible. So those are the best places to find me, or you can just shoot me an email. I'd love to chat. As anyone can tell, I'm a yapper, is what my family likes to say. So I will yap with you for a long time.
That word is going to be stuck in my head now whenever we.
Isn't it great? My cousin was like, Erika, you could talk to a wall. I'm like, yeah, well, if the wall is interesting.
Awesome. Well, any words of wisdom that you want to give that you've learned, just something that pops in your brain?
Yeah. Pause. That's my biggest word of wisdom. Before you do anything, especially if you start to feel your body, we all sort of can tell when we get a little bit overwhelmed. For me, I start to sweat a little bit. Sometimes my throat will close up. This is your throat chakra. Most women have a very blocked throat chakra because we don't speak out what we want to say, and we feel very timid to say anything, like you mentioned before, Leslie. So if you start to notice those little signs in your body that you're feeling overwhelmed, pause before you act, because in that pause, you can actually create more space to choose the reaction and the behavior that you want instead of just autonomically like reacting to someone. So that's my biggest word of wisdom, is just pause more, and then go from there. Go from a space of calm.
Right. I love that. That was a great tip, everyone. Just think about pausing. In fact, right here would be a great time after this podcast. Just pause for a moment, right? And let thoughts and sounds and everything come into your system, right? Well, thank you, Erika. It's been such a delight and pleasure, which of course I knew it would be.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun talking with you, or yapping with you today.
That's right. Thanks for stopping by and yapping with me. And everybody else, be sure and subscribe, because you don't want to miss more fun, engaging, yapping conversations with powerful women on a purpose like Erika. Catch you on the other side.